Welcome. This is Robert Asencio, and let's talk with Robert Asencio, yours truly, on Miami's Community News. So, we wanted to have a part two with Dr. Alison Thompson and her team from Ukraine, directly from in the field in Ukraine. She's with the founder of Third Wave Volunteers. Welcome, Dr. Allison. We want to talk to you today about what's going on in Ukraine. Talk about to us about your effort, but I know you have your team there. So why don't you introduce us to your team so we can get right into what's going on in Ukraine?
Hey, we wanted to cross the border quickly today, and because of there's only two exits to go in and out of Moldova, and they bombed the bridge on the other one. So we've been traveling for 8 hours, just waiting at borders and everything. So we're a bit tired, and we ended up we were supposed to be, doing this interview somewhere else, but we're actually in a car bouncing up and down. So we'll do our best. It's been a really tough week for us, and it's really hit us hard. Very emotional. We've been crying all day because we've been training civilians who are now going to be fighting on the front lines tomorrow. We became close to them, and we're teaching them medical triage, and we had real life situations out in the field, and they had casualties, and showing them how to carry them or do tourniquets or stop the bleed and that. So we're so close to these guys, and also our own security, which are UK and USA ex-military guys, and they're actually all heading to the front lines tomorrow. So we're really sad because about 80% of people heading to the front lines aren't coming back, and there's about 8 Russians to every 1 Ukrainian person. So just knowing their faces, these are we interviewed them and asked them and said, what did you do pre-war? And there were farmers and builders and mechanics and just like bakers and everyday jobs. There was a guy that sells baby food, and now they have these uniforms and they're going to the very front line. So we've kind of been crying all day. We're very emotional. It's just so real because this is a war of civilians against the military, the Russian military, and just very heartbreaking. Yeah.
So, Allison, you're with your team. You want to introduce some of your team members? Because we know that you're based in South Florida.
Yeah, this is Naomi. She's an ocean rescue and a paramedic and Miami Beach lifeguard.
Hi, Naomi. Yeah.
And this is Michelle. She's a nurse at the VA hospital in St. Petersburg.
Hello.
And they can say something too. They have good things to say as well.
So please do tell us. This is Third Wave Volunteers.
Oh, okay.
Just going off of what Allison said, we've really witnessed a beautiful support within the country of the Ukrainian people, and it's how Ukraine is standing so strong right now is the support of their own people, and they've really inspired us with resilience and strength and bravery and courage, and all of our hearts are with them, and it's an honor to serve Ukraine.
Well, you guys are literally supporting people that are fighting for democracy of the country.
Yeah, really. It's just heartbreaking.
There's over 20,000 volunteers that have joined, ex-military that have joined the Ukrainian military from 52 countries, and we keep meeting people from different countries that have just come and to help Ukraine, and it's just absolutely amazing to see that support from all over the world.
So tell us about what you've been doing, training the troops, training people.
Well, we have a lot of, I know it sounds like a movie when people say, I can't tell you the secrets, otherwise we'll have to kill you. But we actually have many secrets we cannot talk about because we've been sworn to secrecy. And we've been to the most secret areas where they're training the civilians to become troops, and very secret locations. But we're focusing on really because we're about saving lives. We're a nonprofit. We're not about killing, and they're all going off to basically kill to survive and to save their land. But we're trying to teach them just a way to save lives. So showing them these simple medical skills about stopping the bleed and using the tourniquet and many different skills. is really going to save lives. And at the end I was talking to all the men and I said, look, we really love you and you're a family now and you need to look after each other. And hopefully these skills will come back to your mind and then you can save one of each other's lives. So yeah, it's been very emotional. We're probably going to start crying in a moment now.
Thank you so much, Alison. I think we have a video now of the field, some operations in the field. It's the one of can we cue that up so I can tell her and we can kind of show the audience? Alison, you sent us this video. It's I don't think you can see it, but it's the one of the troops in the field providing cover movement.
I see it.
Talk to us about that.
Well, when we had 100 men, and there's a couple of us, we're standing in front of all those, so then we broke it down into sections. So it was pretty intense. A new group would come through, another group, and another group, and another group, and they'd start off, and they were really quite not good at the tactical side as well as the medical side. But after about 8 run-throughs, they got better and better and better. And so if we can only do our little part, it's just that part about showing them how to save a life. So
look, we know that it's from Florida to Ukraine. You guys have traveled halfway across the world to help people that you don't know. You are run Third Wave Volunteers. You have about 30,000 volunteers. But what can you tell the audience how to help the effort?
There's a quote that we found within each other on these deployments, and it's, when you hold love for humanity, then the whole world becomes your country. And the same way that you help your brother and sister is how we can help Ukraine. So finding what's needed and finding a way to allocate those resources so that they get to the hands of the people who need them the most. And that list of things that is needed is changing all the time. So really my message to the world is get involved and stay up to date with the changes that are happening. You want to say something?
Yeah, it's really like we said when we spoke last week, it's if you can't donate, just keep the story alive for your social media, share, reshare. We have a place where you can send tourniquets and IFAC kits. It's an international first aid kit, because they really, these civilians we saw, they don't have any protection. They don't have a helmet. They don't have any, any way to protect their organs. And some of them just have their running shoes and not their boots. So it's all these sort of things that are needed, because, I know some people don't want to help military and they're very peaceful, and we're very peaceful, but remember they're civilians. And they're asking for foot powder as well, because they're going to be deploying for 3 months way up on the front lines. And that's a long time to have the same socks on and the same shoes on. And we have, just from our ex-military people that are with us, and that's the number one, a big need up there as well. So again, we can post where you can send tourniquets. If it's tourniquet is between $23 and $30. So even not donating money, just a tourniquet per family. And we did that the last time we were home, and then we got thousands. So it really does help, and it does build up, and then we bring them back. And it's such a need, and it's very hard to get them through Europe, and because there's such a high need, like when the N95 mask was such a high need during the pandemic. This is what's needed here. So keep the story alive.
For context of those that are just joining us, we're speaking to Alison Thompson and her team with Third Wave Volunteers. They are in Ukraine. We will not say where they're going, but I will tell you they're literally in the war zone. Last week when we were speaking to Alison, she mentioned that she was in Odessa, and I believe that night you guys saw rockets going over where you guys were at, where you guys had to go on the ground. Talk about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember when we spoke last. Every day feels like 3 weeks. We had a bomb, rockets land last Saturday, and your Easter in America was the following week here, which was just this weekend that just happened. And there was a rocket that went into apartment buildings and wounded many and killed 8 people. One of them was a lady who just had a baby a month earlier, and I had seen her social media saying how happy she was to have the baby, and they bought flowers. and then she's gone, and her grandma. So it just feels like, everyday life is going about, and then suddenly you could just have a rocket on you, and then you're gone. Even when I look around now, we hear the sirens, and then we're like, no, that's the washing machine. We had sirens today. Yesterday they had rockets land just down, not too far from us. They shot them down. The defense force shot them down just in the water, right? Just less than half a mile down the road. They really want to take Odessa, because that would mean they take all around the harbor and all around to Moldova. It will totally cut off Ukraine. So they're trying to get. They can't get through the coast because it's cliffs. So they're trying to get through Nikolai, and there's really big action in Nikolai. The Russian forces are advancing, and if they get through Nikolai, they can come down a straight road and take Odessa. They cannot take Odessa. They need to fight. But the Ukraine spirit is really high, and even though it's so many more Russians to the Ukrainian, it's the spirit and all the people supporting them that's just pushing them back, and the spirit of love is just building, and you really feel everything from the outside world in helping. So, yeah.
Just amazing. Alison, you had mentioned to me about the fact that last week you were helping, or your mission has also not just been focused on helping soldiers, trained soldiers, providing them, medical training, but also helping the victims, the children, getting the children out of Ukraine, also helping the victims of rape and abuse. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, there's a lot of things they can't talk about in locations, and they don't really want me to talk about the raped women, but there's been a lot of rapes from the Russians, a lot of pregnant women and children, and they're still badly internally damaged, and they're in hospitals. So I can't really talk about that. There's certain things I don't want us to talk about, but it's important the world knows things. We have a lady who was bombed in the hospital in Mariupol, living in our apartments with her little baby, and she's terrified. So even when the sirens were going off in Odessa, she was just so terrified. You were with her. Oh, they made it. You told about how they finally made it to Romania yesterday or something.
Yeah, they a big problem right now is extracting children from the country, because there's a lot of paperwork involved. So this mother was threatened that she was stealing her child, because the hospital where her child's a 1.5-year-old baby documents where it was bombed and burned down. So she didn't have the papers. They almost killed her and took her child. So yeah, they were stuck deep in Russian seized territory. So we made sure that she had safe transport to Romania, and she just sent me a message yesterday with a beautiful picture of her baby happy playing outside, and she was going to a jazz concert that the city had organized outside, and she is very grateful and happy to be safe, even though she still has family trapped in Ukraine.
And there's also down in the apartments we have there's a lady with 10 kids.
Yes, 2 parents with 10 children, and we're making sure that they get safely to Germany.
Yeah, so there's so many women and children still in here and still in occupied territory. And with the lady from Mariupol, they couldn't go out through the Ukraine way. They made them go through, what's it called, DPR. So that's every Russian checkpoint. They gave her such a hard time, and she was terrified. So her 2 children are stuck, 15-year-old and 18-year-old are stuck behind there with no passports or anything. So there's no way to get them out. So she's worried.
The stories are hard.
Hard stories.
So I have a question for you. Is the major aggression or the war activity, combat activity, still concentrated to the eastern part and the southeastern? I'm sorry, the eastern part and the south part of the country, or is it migrating escalating to other parts of the country? Western part of the country.
It's really not up in Kyiv area anymore. It's east, and it's really the action is the southeast, because they're really trying to come through and take Odessa. So it's on the east, but they're advancing. I mean, the Ukrainian forces are just trying so hard, and they've got a lot of support. But it's they're trying to hold them back. They did push them back from Kherson over the last week, because they really have to. They just cannot get through Nikolai. That would be a real downfall for Odessa. There's over a population of about 1 million people in Odessa. Then minus all the women and children that are gone, but there's still a lot of old people and women and children there. There's still a lot of trapped people in many of the captured territories.
And do those facilities, those buildings and those warehouses and whatever structures where people are hiding in the basement, in the subway, do they become killing zones?
Yeah, like that we saw in the Syrian crisis. They're bombing anything to do with aid, if it looks like some sort of aid or a hospital. In Nikolai 2 days ago, they bombed a hospital, not the big main one. Nikolai, the Russians have taken out all the water systems, so we sent up 10. Another way we spend donation is water. We get really big water tanks, so we sent 10 water tanks into Nikolaev Hospital because they had no water. The wells are filthy, dirty, and there's no drinking water. So that's not really sustainable having the big tanks go in, but it's something. Mm-hmm. So we're really looking for water filtration. If there's some really big NGOs out there with a solution for some very, very large water filtration systems for Nikolaev, because they're in a real bad way.
Again, we're talking to Dr. Alison Thompson and her team from Third Wave Volunteers. They're basically civilian incident command teams that are going out, commanders that are going out and helping, not just commanding, but also helping victims and train up soldiers that will go into combat. They're on a strictly support, peaceful mission. Andres, do we have the video on the training of the troops? Can you kind of put that up? Again, we're not providing location of where this occurred, but this is part of their effort, helping people survive. Can you talk about what they're doing and how they're training?
Yes, so they're defending a patient. One of their men have gone down, has been shot. So they're learning to stay low so they don't get killed. First of all, they have to win the fight first. That's the most important thing. And the second part is triage, because you have to have safety first. You have to always have safety first. You cannot just rush in, because then you could be killed. We talk to them about to look in surroundings for snipers, but also for gas to be uphill. If the person that's gone down, they may be in water or electrical wires. There's many things. We also teach them about chemical warfare, because we know the Russians could be using that any day now. So we talk about the smell of fresh cut grass. Yeah. That's a sign of a nerve agent, or the smell of almonds and nuts, which is also like a cyanide poisoning smell. Yeah. So, here in the scenario, it's real life, and sometimes they use live ammo, just to get them ready to know how it feels. We were practicing in a warehouse there, and it feels like a very real life situation, and just showing them different techniques of how to drag them to safety, because they're in the red zone. You can't stay there and do CPR, and then you have to grab them and go. But this patient you're seeing in there, they have a wound to the abdomen, so we're showing them how to quickly stop the bleed, quickly wrap them, and then get them out as fast as they can into to a safety zone, a yellow or a green zone. So these skills will really help them probably, hopefully save, one of their team members.
So we have a couple of minutes left. Any signs of any CBRN activity? Any chemical, nuclear? I don't think nuclear, but chemical, biological weapons being used?
We don't know. We've heard that they're doing some sampling from Mariupol, but we just don't have the intel on that. It's hard because we don't watch the news or anything. So you probably know many more things on the outside that we know. We come home at night exhausted, and just crash to sleep and get up the next day. Yeah, it's just really intense. So we're really feeling it so much deeper. We just become so attached to these people. They're just such beautiful people.
Listen, you sent me a message last night. I was laying in bed. I kid you not. And we will share it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to ask Coolers to publish the message that you sent. about having trained these soldiers that are going off to the front lines. I think it's very important for people to hear from you and your team. Let's continue the conversation. I wish we had more time. Alison and team, may God bless you. Please be safe. Guys,
Thank you.
any last words for the audience?
Slava Ukraine.
Slava Ukraine.
Slava Ukraine.
All the way.
Everybody's needed. That's our message for third wave volunteers. Everyone's needed. So you can step up and do something. You don't have to fly over here, but we need people to, like, you know, there's a lot of warehouses that are collecting things back home. There's always some way to get it. Even if you just can't really go out, if you're working, you can work the computer for 2 hours online for us, or just reach out to thirdwavevolunteers.com and say, I'm at service and what can I do? And we'll give you a job to do. Yeah.
For those of you that are watching, please share this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, but also share on Facebook or any of the social media platforms. We need you to share this video. Make sure that we can increase awareness and continue to inform people accurately. Let's cut through the misinformation. Let's face it, people are fighting and supporting their fight to save their democracy, freedoms. Without freedoms, who are we? And without helping others, how can we survive ourselves? This has been Robert Asencio. To the Millers, we can't thank you enough. Community newspaper, our production team, Andres, Wilson, and team, thank you so much. But more importantly, to you, the audience, thank you. Until the next time, we'll speak to you next time. Alison, please don't hang up. We want to talk to you after we go offline. Thank you all. This has been another show.
Thank you.